Hello everybody, welcome back. Jiu-Jitsu 2000 here today. I'm back and I have an interesting video for you. Today I want to show you a new stove. Well, new to me. It's not a new stove, it's a stove that's been around a long time. In fact, it's not even made anymore. This stove is made by MSR and it was the predecessor to what they call the Dragonfly. This stove is called the Firefly. So I was looking around on eBay and I found this. Now it looks a lot better now than it did when I first got it. It looked pretty bad when I first got it. I put a bid in for it. The guy in the description of the stove, he said that he didn't even know if it worked. So I think I picked it up for about 30 bucks, somewhere around there, give or take a few dollars. So I got the stove home. I won the bid, obviously. Got the stove home, and first thing I did was I tore it down, all the way down, and I cleaned everything up, and I was amazed at how simple it was to fix this stove. The only tools that I needed to fix the stove was a flathead screwdriver, and that was to take the jet out. But on the top of the stove, right here, where the flame spreader is, I pulled the flame spreader off, and inside the burner bell there is a nut. I don't know if you can see that nut around the jet there. Well, that nut takes what I used was a 3/4 inch socket. So I used the 3/4 inch socket to loosen that nut. That took the burner bell out. And then I took the flathead screwdriver and I pulled the jet out. Now if I remember correctly, the jet was I'm looking down in there, XG. So I don't know if that's the same jet that you find in the XGK stove, I think is what they call it. So anyway, I pulled the burner bell out, and there was another nut. That one was a 5/8, I think. 5/8 inch nut. And what that nut did was that removed this stainless steel housing, this housing here. So those are the only tools I had going on so far. Then of course the flathead screwdriver can be used to take this screw off, and I'll talk about that a little more here in a second. So obviously I had a ratchet, 3/8 inch ratchet, and I had a small extension. So those are the only tools that I had so far. And I also used a crescent wrench. The crescent wrench I used to take this little piece off right here, this little nut. Now inside this nut, which was the adjustment valve, see, so those are the only tools I had. So once I took this nut out, looks like I'm about to get rained out. Once I took this nut out, I undid this, I loosened this up all the way out until it came out. There was one O-ring in this whole stove. I took the crescent wrench and I also removed this piece here. I took the flathead screwdriver, pulled this screw out, pulled the wing nut off, and there's two washers right here. There's a spacer inside, and then there's also a spacer up here in the front. Now this front portion right here that's into this body does not come out. This is made onto this piece here, so this piece doesn't come out. It doesn't thread in or nothing like that. It's part of this piece of metal. Now they put like a little right here, like the little keychain ring kind of thing right here. I don't know if you can see that. So there's like this cool little keychain ring, and that's a pretty cool little idea. And I was always wondering how this stove, how do you get the pot supports out? Well, it's very cool the way they did that. They have a small wing nut right here, and I loosen the wing nut and it relieves the pressure off of this section and this section. So once you relieve the pressure, you can unhook the fuel line, and because of this little keychain ring kind of thing right here, it keeps this leg connected to this body of the stove, and then you basically rotate the legs around and you get them where you want them, and then you tighten the wing nut and it tightens all of this stuff together, and it makes those legs go into whatever position you want them. And I thought that was really unique because if you wanted to rest your stove like up against a rock or something, you could actually lock it in a configuration something like this. You could put it against a rock or something, set your pan right there and use the rock as a reflector or something like that. I thought that was really cool. So this is, you know, the pot support system, in my opinion, is really cool. It reminds me of the Whisper Light. Now it's a little bit taller. You can see it's quite a bit taller. Looks like my camera's getting rained on. So the stove itself, as far as the pot supports and stuff, is a little taller than the standard Whisper Light. Now, I turned this valve all the way off. Again, there's only one O-ring in there. Now, while I was in there, I did put 2 more O-rings, so I have a total of 3 O-rings in there now, just to make sure that this is sealed up really good. That's the only moving part on the stove. The inside the fuel line here, on most of the new, like the Whisper Lights and stuff, they put a stainless steel braided cable inside here to clean. This does not have that. And I also was curious what size diameter this was in reference to the pump. Now, here's the pump. This is the pump after I cleaned it up and after I rebuilt it. The pump didn't even work. I had to replace this rubber gasket. I found an O-ring at my hardware store that was pretty close, and I figured that would work. Even though the original gasket is kind of a squared gasket, but I figured you have a piece of aluminum in your fuel tank and you have a hard piece of plastic, and when you thread those two together, it will smash that rubber and make a seal. I also put a new O-ring inside of here because it was leaking, and I took this valve completely out and put a new O-ring on there as well. So this pump should be ready to go. The pump cup comes out really cool. I cleaned all this up. This is a leather cup. It's in great condition. I put a little bit of olive oil, of all types of oil. So you basically put that in there and you rotate this half a turn, locks right into place. It's a really cool pump and it works. It didn't work when I got it, so I had to rebuild this whole stove, this whole everything. Inside the stove, in the stem, which mounts the jet and everything is inside the stem, that's all brass, and inside that piece of brass there was a small threaded piece inside. So I used, I think it's an Allen screw, but I didn't have any Allen wrenches, so I used a T10 Torx bit to get that out. There wasn't really a need to get that out other than just the basic cleaning of it, so I used that. So these folks, these are all the tools I use. That's it. This is a very simple stove, very easy to work on. Crescent wrench, you know, T10 Torx, flathead screwdriver, 5/8 and 3/4 socket, 3/8 drive and extension. So here's the stove, all ready to go. I'm really excited. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. Now let me show you what the fuel bottle looked like when I got the fuel bottle. So it also came with the fuel bottle. It's the standard fuel bottle. I don't think that this fuel bottle was made by MSR. It had a couple dents in it, as you can see. Had an instruction label on the bottom, and it says SIGG, SIG, Switzerland. I don't know if you can see that or not. That's what the fuel bottle looks like. It's a very nice bottle. And also I want to talk about one more thing. The stove itself has something a little different. It came with this. Now some of you might not understand what this is. Let me put these tools away. This is a windscreen. The stove was designed to be used with a windscreen. And it's a little bit bulky, I'll admit. So the stove sits there. The windscreen comes down like this, and it fits right on top of the stove like this. So then whenever you're going to cook or whatever you're going to do, you can take, you know, you have that windscreen there. So you take your pan, whatever size pan you're going to use, and you set it inside. And that just kind of helps keep the burner free of the wind and stuff like that. Put your pots in there. So what I'm going to do now is, you know, I looked on YouTube to see if there was any videos on the Firefly stove, and there was one video, and it was like a dude in the shop, and it had terrible sound, terrible video quality. So I felt like I would do a video with this stove just to put more data out there on the YouTube world. So if there's anybody out there wanting to find a Firefly video, here we are. So I'm going to fire this thing up and let you see it in action. So I got this tank all pressurized. Now I need to turn this fuel line around about like so. So I'm going to insert this inside of here. It's actually kind of interesting the way this thing fits, and then it pops right on there. Now, if you're just in case you were wondering, I kind of forgot to mention this. This diameter of this, you know, I was kind of concerned at first because I thought that it would take the same size diameter as the Dragonfly, which is different than all the other stoves. I don't know why they did that. It's larger. This one's not. This one is the standard size, the same size as your Whisperlite Universal, your all those stoves that are liquid fuel, which Whisperlite International, they're all the same size. So this stove will fit your Whisperlite pump. Okay, so things like that. So I just thought I'd throw that at you. I'm going to turn this valve off and we'll take this down to the ground and we'll fire it up. So first thing I want to talk about is I am going to make sure that this valve is shut all the way, so it's clockwise. And I've already pressurized my bottle. I'm going to turn the fuel on here, all the way on, completely on. And from here, what I want to do is I want to open this valve just a little bit so that it'll squirt up a little bit of fuel in the jet, and that fuel is going to fall down into the burner bell. Now inside that burner bell there's a small hole on the bottom which will that small hole allows the fuel to fall out of the burner bell into this outer housing. And I think the reason it does that is because it needs to heat up all of this, because this stove does not have a generator loop. So I think what their idea was that they would heat up the whole assembly, which this valve stem right here that I'm touching gets pretty hot to the touch. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce a little fuel. Let's light that fuel. Now we're going to prime the stove, and it primes just like a Dragonfly or something like that, or the XGK I think they call it. So I let everything get nice and hot, and I slowly add a little bit of fuel. Make sure this valve is completely open. Give a little bit of fuel. Let it get nice and hot. Almost there. Takes a little longer to prime than the old stove, than the newer ones I should say. Just has to get everything hot. It doesn't have a generator loop. If I use this little stick here as a pointer, I think these parts right here have those fins on them to either help it heat up quick or help it cool down quick. I'm not sure. You can see the beautiful flame control. I'm all the way down, and as I slowly open it up, you can see I get a little more flame. When I really open this stove up, it has a unique sound. It sounds like a helicopter flying or something. It's kind of different. On this stove is a lot thinner than the current model stoves. You can see that the pot support and everything in here is just red hot. I can easily control that flame. Pressure. You get a lot of yellow tips on your fire, on your flames, you've overpressured your canister. So if you're getting a lot of that, lower the pressure in your can. Watch. See that? I got the yellow tips, orange tips, because I've overpressured this slightly. All the way down to a birthday candle. It's not as fine-tuned as the Dragonfly is as far as the flame control, but it's a lot better than like the old International or the old Whisper Light. There's a low flame, medium, high. So now what I want to do is I want to take this windscreen, this wind deflector, I'm going to put it on the stove and I'm going to boil some water. That'll keep the wind off of it. I have a small can here. I'm going to boil 32 ounces of water. I just want to see how this thing performs. So let's get my phone ready. We'll find that timer. There we go. We'll start counting up once I put the pot on there. Here goes the timer. We're going to see how long it takes to boil this water. It's already starting to boil. This is 32 ounces of water, folks. This stove has a unique sound to it. It sounds like a helicopter going off. to a boil already. Pretty close. Getting there. Look at that, folks. 2 minutes in and we're at a boil. It's not a big old heavy rolling boil, but we are at a boil in 2 minutes. That is 32 ounces of water, folks. 32 ounces of water. Look at that. Heavy duty rolling boil 215. That is a performance. That stove has some power. Less than 2.5 minutes. I mean, it is boiling. Turn it down to a simmer. See what it does. It's kind of nice having 2 different valves. Still a heavy rolling boil. There we go, we got it down now. The valve, again, like I said, it's not as precise as the Dragonfly, but this was the predecessor to the Dragonfly, the Firefly. It's a great stove. So when you're done, you can open this valve up, flip the fuel canister over. It's like this, bear with me. What'll happen is it'll drain the gas or the air out of the tank here, and then before you know it, you'll be out of pressure and the stove will go off. It's a beautiful stove. Hear that? There it goes. So I flip the can over. Now I can remove this hot boiling water out of the way. I can use this to pull this thing off. It's aluminum. So that's the heat deflector. The only downside that I see to this stove is it's bulky. You know, it's big. It's a big stove. But it's a performer. You can see that everything's good to go. This tank is depressurized. Now I can turn this valve off. Oh, wrong way. Oh, which way am I going? Yeah. It's upside down, so I'm having trouble figuring out. There we go. Now that valve's off. We can pop this off. Take this off of the tank. So if you have a new tank and a new pump, it will also work on this old stove. This aluminum piece cooled down very quickly. The stove is still a little bit warm to the touch. It's only been a couple minutes. But I want to say thank you for joining me on this video today. I hope you got some good, useful information. Please feel free to leave your comments down below, like this video, share this video, because this is a very rare stove. And if you like the content that you see on my channel, please subscribe. I'd love to have you folks. And until next time, have a beautiful day and enjoy your MSR Firefly. It's a good stove. The performance really impresses me on how quick it boiled that water. I didn't think it'd boil it that quick, to be completely honest with you. I thought it would be about 5 minutes or 4 minutes or something like that. I mean, this water is still piping hot right here. See, it's still steaming. Still steaming. Hot water. Thanks for watching.